Hello, everyone. I'm Helen McGrath, LLG's Executive Director of Policy and Governance, and I'm joined this week by Dennis Hall, our Bulletin Editor. Hello, Dennis.
Hello, Helen.
What have you got for us this week?
Well, I want to talk about the topic of digital burnout and the symptoms and solutions for this ever prevalent situation that can arise. In our complex, high-demand world where digital services and our online platforms are integral to both professional and personal life, the phenomenon now known as digital burnout has become increasingly prevalent, not least in the legal profession. From working on a laptop to unwinding in front of a television or scrolling on your smartphone, spending too much time using screens can lead to feelings of physical and mental exhaustion. Now, according to an article in last week's Law Society Gazette, digital burnout, which is characterized by exhaustion and sometimes detachment, resulting from excessive digital engagement, poses significant challenges to an individual's well-being and productivity. Now, it's crucial not only to understand the causes and consequences of digital burnout, but to implement effective strategies to mitigate its impact. And all of this is what we're going to discuss today. So here's the question. What are the main symptoms of digital burnout or digital exhaustion? Well, the term encompasses a range of symptoms and experiences resulting from the pressures of navigating the digital landscape. Now, according to the article that I mentioned, these symptoms can include what's called information overload. In other words, constant pressure to an overwhelming amount of information, such as emails, social media updates, news articles and notifications. Apologies, I know we contribute to this as well with the bulletin and other things. And all of this leads to a difficulty in processing and managing information effectively. And the second thing that the article highlights is this issue of constant connectivity. Again, we contribute to this as well. The expectation is to always be reachable, whether for work-related communication or social interactions, blurring the boundaries between work and personal life and making it challenging to disconnect and therefore to be able to unwind. Now, Helen, I know you've been looking at this article with me, and it does mention a number of other factors as well.
Well, as you've touched on, social media pressures, I think, the pressure to maintain a curated online presence fueled by social media platforms can contribute to feelings of inadequacy, comparison, and a fear of missing out. This was quite a new one on me. I hadn't heard of FOMO, but apparently that is the fear of missing out. And that can lead to kind of compulsive checking of social media feeds and seeking validation through likes and comments. And of course, we do know from research that brain centers, dopamine lights up in your brain when you get interaction through your smartphone or other device. So it kind of acts as an addictive factor to continually go back to your devices as well. But interestingly, while you get that little hit, it can also cause you distress. So there's something of a conflicted pattern because you've got mental and emotional strain as well. And that arises from a prolonged exposure to digital technologies, which can, take a toll on mental health and emotional well-being, which in turn contributes to anxiety, depression, stress, feelings of isolation and loneliness. So it's actually really important that we address this issue of digital burnout for our own well-being. So were there any clues as to how we can combat digital burnout, Dennis?
Well, Helen, yes, and of course this is the important bit. What are the solutions? What can people do? Now, back to the article. To mitigate the risk of digital burnout and cultivate a healthier relationship with technology, it's essential to adopt some kind of proactive strategy that promotes balance and mindfulness in this digital age. And there are a number of steps that they recommend. And the first one is talking about establishing boundaries. Set clear boundaries around digital usage by designating specific times and spaces during the day for digital engagement and disengagement. Establish a digital-free zone in your home or workplace where devices are actually prohibited, allowing for uninterrupted relaxation and connection with with your friends and family. And the second one, and it's an interesting term, a new one on me as well, practice digital detox.
Mm.
Periodically disconnect from digital devices and platforms to recharge and rejuvenate. Schedule regular digital detox days or weekends where you refrain from using smartphones, social media, and email, and engage in offline activities that bring more joy and fulfillment to your lives. And the other one is that I've identified from the article, prioritize self-care. Make self-care a priority by incorporating activities that promote physical, emotional, and mental well-being into your daily routine. Practice mindfulness, meditation, engage in regular exercise, ensure you get adequate sleep and nourish your body, and have nutritious food to enhance resilience. Now, I know, Helen, I can recollect there was a conference not that long ago where we covered mindfulness and its relevance to professionals and how they should bring mindfulness into the schedule of their lives, their busy lives, and so forth. And I think there's something coming ahead soon in the conference in June on something similar to this.
Yes, we will be covering sort of well-being generally in and the use of technology, but other elements as well at the conference in Leeds on the 7th of June. And we would encourage everybody to book for that. It is available as a hybrid, so it is available online. So we're talking more about digital, but there is something about getting back in person, which is far better on our emotional well-being and connecting to people. And I think also, you know, we talk about digital burnout, without a doubt, working from home can blur boundaries. And this, you know, I have a horrible tendency of working over the weekends, which, you know, then means you're not switching off. And I think that's a really kind of easy thing to do, especially when you've got a million alerts coming through. But I will say that this article in the Gazette, it's a Gazette Insight piece, is really, really interesting and really well written. And I would urge everybody to take a look at it because it has kind of lots of ideas and just thinking about digital detox. You know, we do talk about detoxing body, the physical body, but people don't talk about detoxing their mind, do they? So this idea of digital mindfulness, trying to develop an awareness of your digital habits, I think is a really good first step to understanding. And actually lots of different systems and software providers actually will send you a report of how much time you spent doing various different things. And I think that can be quite eye-opening for people when it consolidates that into weekly reports around, you know, you might not be aware that you've spent so much time on social media, or you might not be aware that this sort of sheer amount of online content is kind of pelting towards you, for want of a better expression. And obviously don't forget, from a health and safety perspective, you know, everybody's advised to take breaks, aren't they, through their work and move away from the screen. And that's important for your eye health as well as your own mental health.
Yes, indeed. I was just thinking while we're talking about this, and I was thinking earlier, what are our particular bugbears and things that frustrate us? And I've written down too, and I'd be interested to share them with you and what your particular bugbears are with using IT. Well, certainly from a personal point of view, ever since I started using IT for work, the issue of maintaining and retrieving files could be a very frustrating thing. And I've written down here, just as a bit of advice to share with members, that you really need to have a system for filing and preparing folders and keeping them on your computer wherever you choose to keep them, and keep to that system. And I have a process which I use all the time when I'm naming a file. For example, it has a date and it has a name that I will recognize so that I can retrieve it later. It used to drive me around the bend when I started off using computers, finding files and documents that I'd written and prepared and then couldn't find them. That was something that used to drive me around the bend. Now I've cured myself of this. The other thing is, when you're communicating with several people and you want replies back quickly, you know, normally get the replies trickling back. There's always that one or two, aren't there, that never reply at all, and you have to chase them up. And I always use the subject line now to put on reply required by such and such a date, or attention, immediate attention. And I'll do this in bold in the subject line in order to emphasize and avoid the frustrations of people not replying in a timely way. So those are two of the things that I do in order to stop me from going round the bend in handling modern IT equipment. I don't know whether you have particular things that you try to address.
Well, I think the filing system is an interesting one, because if you're working on a shared database, which most people are, then there needs to be absolute consistency with the way in which your colleagues are also coding information. And I think, you know, setting out a written statement of expectation in relation to how things are saved will hopefully prevent real problems in finding where anything is. Although search functions these days are fairly good, but it is frustrating. But the biggest issue for me is the fact that we're now working across so many platforms. So you've got your emails, you've got your Teams, you've got all your channels in your Teams. We, for instance, also communicate via WhatsApp, you know, and then you're thinking, where's this message? I know there was a message. I know there's a document. Where is it? And that is exceptionally frustrating. I think to combat that, it's important to set a tone of understanding about what is delivered through each mechanism. Otherwise, you're just spending an increasing amount of time trying to locate something, basically, and you can just waste time and get frustrated and wound up.
Yeah.
So finally, you know, how do you think we can reclaim control over our digital lives? Do you think it's just a question of being more mindful of it?
I think, like so many important things, these things have crept up upon us as problems in the modern age, haven't they? And I think that using or being part of the digital landscape requires a personal discipline. Easier said than done.
Yeah.
Like many things, you've got to plan and be focused in order to avoid problems. So the ideas, and I didn't know them by the phrases and descriptions that I mentioned in the article, but this issue of establishing boundaries is the fundamental one for me, followed by the other one that you've mentioned there, the digital detox. You need to have interesting things to do besides being part of the digital landscape, and have a physical activities in particular, I think, important as part of the mix of your daily routines. Sitting at a desk all day is just simply not the right answer. And to divide your time up according to what best suits you. We all hopefully have interesting hobbies and things to do, and we should make the best of our time and use our time wisely, but have a mixed approach to what you do. Being online isn't everything.
No, sage advice, Dennis. And on that note, you can get coverage of many more items from the bulletin and by listening to the Grapevine podcast. So it's goodbye from me.
And from me too.